Hello, Leo. Let me ask you something powerful. What if a sudden goodbye, one you never expected, is the exact miracle your soul has been waiting for? You're not watching this by chance. You've been guided here. And today, I'm here to tell you, a cosmic turning point is approaching, and it's not just another phase, it's the one that will change everything. There's a date written in your soul contract. You may not know it yet, but when it arrives, something within you will shift and life as you've known it will no longer make sense in the same way. This is not a warning. This is a sacred invitation. And it begins with a goodbye. Now, I know what you're thinking. Why would the universe remove something or someone from my life without warning? But Leo, what if that goodbye is not a loss but a release? What if what's leaving is actually making space for the version of you that's been waiting to rise? Because you are not just a zodiac sign, you are fire in motion. You are the heartbeat of the sun. And the truth is, your light has outgrown the space you've been living in. In the teachings of mindfulness and yes, even in Buddhist wisdom, we're reminded that all things are impermanent. And through impermanence comes freedom. It's through letting go that we return to ourselves. So today, this isn't just another horoscope. This is a deep energetic reading, a soul-level transmission to help you align with what's leaving, and to prepare you for what's about to arrive. And I want to pause for a moment, Leo, to say thank you. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for watching, subscribing, commenting, and simply being part of this growing cosmic family here at Eternal Mindfulness. Your presence fuels this mission. And every like, every message, every share allows these messages to reach those who need them most. Now, listen closely, because the universe is not done speaking to you. This goodbye you're about to face, it may shake you at first, but it will set you free in ways that your logical mind cannot yet grasp. A date is coming. A moment. A shift. And when it arrives, you will feel it in your body, in your bones, that this was the turning point. That this was the before and after moment in your journey. And Leo, I want you to do something powerful right now for your future self. Comment below with, "I am ready for the breakthrough behind the goodbye." Let the universe witness your readiness. Let your words become a declaration. Because this journey, it's just beginning. And you'll want to stay with me to the very last moment of this video. Because what the universe is about to reveal is nothing short of breathtaking. So tell me, my radiant Leo, what called you here today? Was it your intuition? A whisper in your chest? Or was it simply time for your soul to rise? Let's find out together. When a chapter in your life begins to dissolve, a relationship that no longer feels nourishing, a job that once sparked purpose but now drains your vitality, or a version of yourself you've outgrown, it's easy to experience it as loss. But what if, instead of seeing it as something being taken from you, you saw it as a process of return? A return not to what was, but to who you are becoming. The moment we feel the pull of goodbye, that subtle ache, that quiet unraveling, it's often not chaos, but clarity beginning to form. Life doesn't always shout its signals. Sometimes, it speaks in silence. In the thinning of conversations. In the absence of joy where it once lived. In the heaviness we carry around things that used to feel light. That, Leo, is not punishment. That is preparation. You see, endings are not meant to close us. They are meant to crack us open. In the language of the cosmos, the number 9 represents the final inhale before a new breath begins. It signals the closing of a cycle that has taught you all it can. But more than just a number, 9 is the spiritual threshold, the moment when one phase of your existence bows out gracefully, making space for something you've yet to even imagine. And if you're feeling that right now, that deep tug in your chest, that soft knowing that this can't continue the way it's been, then trust it. Because that is not confusion. That is wisdom rising. The Death card in tarot is one of the most misunderstood. But in its true form, it doesn't bring darkness, it brings truth. It does not arrive to end you. It arrives to remove what is no longer real so that what is eternal in you can breathe again. Much like the trees that shed their leaves not because they are dying, but because they are making room for new life, so too are you being asked to let go, not to lose, but to live again, more deeply, more honestly. There is a quiet strength in knowing when it's time to walk away. Not from anger. Not from failure. But from completion. Life isn't a straight line. It's more like a spiral, circling through growth, release, and renewal again and again. And the more you resist the ending, the longer you postpone the joy that comes next. Letting go doesn't mean you didn't love. It doesn't mean you didn't try. It means you're honoring the natural rhythm of all things. There is a wisdom that whispers, "Enough now. You may set this down." And in that act of release, Leo, you return to yourself. Not the self you had to be for others, but the one that existed before all the roles, the radiant, unfiltered, fiercely alive version of you. Sometimes the bravest thing we can do is to stop holding on. To loosen the grip. To say quietly but clearly, "This has served me. And now, I'm ready for more." So, I invite you to pause here, gently, and ask yourself, not with urgency, but with love. What are you still holding on to that has already said goodbye? What truth have you been avoiding because it would mean letting go of what's familiar? If it feels scary, that's okay. Fear always sits at the edge of great transformation. But what waits for you beyond this goodbye isn't emptiness. It's space. It's possibility. It's life, your life rising to meet you at the level of your courage. And maybe, just maybe, that's what this moment has always been about. There are moments in life that feel like ordinary days, quiet, passing without fanfare, but in truth, they carry the weight of transformation. You may not recognize them at first. They might arrive as a text that shakes your reality, a passing phrase that lingers in your chest, or a morning when you wake up with the sudden clarity that something must change. These are not random. These are pivot points, days designed to bring you back to the center of who you are. When your life begins to feel like a performance, when the roles you play grow louder than your own inner voice, the universe often responds not with chaos, but with an opening. It's subtle, yet profound. It places before you a choice or a realization that feels strangely significant. And that's how you know, this is more than coincidence. This is a redirection. Astrologically, we all pass through cycles where the light must return to us. Leo, ruled by the sun, you are especially sensitive to moments of illumination. The sun, in tarot, doesn't just represent joy, it symbolizes truth that warms, that energizes, that reminds you of your original fire. When the Sun card appears, it asks, what if the light you've been waiting for is you? This fated date ahead, whatever form it takes, isn't just about external change. It's an inner alignment. A moment when the truth becomes undeniable. It may bring discomfort, but not because it's wrong, because it's real. And realness, by nature, is disruptive only to what is false. When you've outgrown a version of your life, you don't always get a loud signal. You get invitations. You get moments. And this one is coming. Not to punish you, but to reposition you, to bring you back to your heart's original path. There's a quiet teaching found in many wisdom traditions. When we create space, life fills it. But not before. That's why letting go is often the first act of trust. If you're still carrying the weight of past identities, past mistakes, or past hopes that no longer feel alive, then this moment invites you to release them. Not because they were wrong, but because they have served their purpose. The law of attraction responds not just to what we wish for, but to what we are ready to receive. And readiness doesn't come from forcing, it comes from opening. From making room inside your thoughts, your schedule, your heart. Only when we stop clinging can something new find a place to land. Color holds vibration. And in this phase of your journey, two energies will support you deeply: golden yellow and rose orange. Gold reminds you of your own brilliancy, it amplifies your presence, strengthens your sense of purpose. Rose orange helps heal the soft spaces, the echoes of old wounds that may still be shaping how you see the future. These colors are not just visual choices, they are reminders. To shine. To soften. To begin again. You don't have to know exactly what's coming. You just have to be available to it. And sometimes, the greatest act of courage is to stand still and say, I'm ready. Not because you have all the answers, but because you finally trust yourself enough to step into the unknown with grace. So take a breath. Not the shallow kind that hides fear, but a deep one, the kind that claims space. That says, I am here. I am listening. I am willing. And now I ask you, with love and curiosity, what if this is the moment your destiny has been waiting for you to say yes? What if the day that changes everything isn't someday but very, very soon? Are you ready to receive it when it arrives? There comes a moment on every path when we realize that the crown we've been wearing no longer fits. Not because we've failed, but because we've outgrown it. Leo, your nature is radiant by design. You are wired to lead, to shine, to be seen. But sometimes, in the effort to preserve that light, you found yourself holding tightly to an image, a title, or a role that no longer speaks for who you really are. And while that role may have once been necessary, maybe even noble, it may now be the very thing keeping you from the freedom your soul quietly longs for. To stay in the shape others have come to expect of you is exhausting. It's like trying to keep a flame trapped in a glass jar, beautiful from the outside, but slowly suffocating from within. And the truth is, you don't need the old performance anymore. You don't need the applause that comes from playing a part that isn't honest. You just need your truth, your fire, your original rhythm. This part of your journey isn't about becoming something new. It's about remembering who you were before the world told you who to be. Judgment, in the tarot, is not about punishment. It's about awakening. It calls you to rise, not to be perfect, but to be real. It asks you to listen closely to the whispers inside you, the ones that say, "This version of me is ready to rest now. I want to return to something deeper." And if you felt that tug recently, a quiet ache when you pretend, a tension when you agree to things you no longer believe in, and your soul is already speaking. The invitation is already here. But how do we know what to release? The answer is simpler than it seems. If you're holding on because it still brings life, you'll feel energized by it. If you're holding on just because it's familiar, you'll feel drained. One renews you. The other weighs you down. Clarity often lives right there in the body. In teachings that emphasize inner stillness, there's a phrase that gently reminds us, that which is not yours will fall away without force. It means that when you stop resisting, what no longer serves you will quietly exit. And in that space, your true path becomes visible. Like mist clearing to reveal the mountain you've been walking on all along. There is power in ritual. It gives shape to things that feel too big to name. So I invite you to try this. Write down 3 things, roles, beliefs, expectations you are ready to release. Fold the paper. Sit quietly. Then, when you feel ready, burn it, safely, with intention. Not to erase the past, but to honor its place and make room for what's next. Let the ashes remind you that everything you've carried has brought you here, and now you are free to step forward without it. You do not need a crown to be royal. You do not need a stage to be powerful. Your presence, unfiltered, is more commanding than any title. And the world doesn't need the version of you that knows how to perform. It needs the version of you that knows how to feel. So if you felt torn between who you were and who you're becoming, let this be your moment of release. Not to abandon yourself, but to come home to yourself. The crown you're meant to wear isn't made of gold, it's made of self-trust, truth, and the courage to evolve. And now is the time to claim it. After you've removed the crown that no longer fits and let go of the roles that were dimming your light, there comes a stillness, a quiet, almost unfamiliar space within. It may feel like nothing is happening. But in truth, something extraordinary is beginning. Your real light is preparing to shine, not because you're trying, not because you're performing, but because you're finally allowing it to be seen without filter. Leo, you've always been connected to radiance. Your very essence is tied to the sun, the life giver. But there's a difference between a light that seeks attention and a light that simply exists whole and undeniable. The first depends on reaction, the second is powered by inner clarity. And this next phase in your journey is inviting you to move from the outer glow to the inner flame. When you reach this part of the cycle, it's no longer about proving yourself. It's about remembering that you never had to. The stage, the applause, the validation, they served a purpose once. But now, they may only echo a hunger you've already outgrown. What matters is not how others see your light, but how deeply you feel it. There's a principle found in timeless wisdom that says, the most radiant flame burns silently. And that is your truth now. It doesn't mean you'll retreat from the world. It means you'll re-enter it from a place of quiet power, guided not by image, but by essence. This shift also shows up in your everyday life, sometimes in subtle, practical ways. You may start to notice your body asking for more rest, or your heart becoming more selective about where it gives energy. Listen to that. The heart is your ruling organ, and when it feels overextended, disconnected, or heavy, it's not just physical, it's energetic. Practices like mindful breathing or sitting under natural sunlight in stillness can help recenter you. Let the warmth of the sun be not just above you, but within you. In your career, if the fire has gone out, ask yourself, am I building something I believe in, or something I've just learned to tolerate? You're not here to endure. You're here to lead with passion. If you're staying in a job or project simply because it once mattered, but now it depletes you, that's a sign it's time to realign, not to burn it all down, but to redirect your flame where it will truly light you up. Financially, this is a season to reflect deeply on your motivations. Are your spending choices rooted in true value or in social pressure? Leo energy can sometimes feel the need to express status or generosity, but now is the time to be intentional. Invest in experiences that restore you, not appearances that exhaust you. In love, the courage to speak your truth is your greatest act of healing. If you've been hiding parts of yourself to maintain peace or avoid discomfort, consider this. A love that cannot hold your truth is not love, it's a transaction. And you're not here to be chosen for who you pretend to be. You are here to be loved for who you already are. The tarot card that accompanies this moment is the Star. It follows the Tower, which represents disruption and collapse. The star is the moment after the gentle light that rises from the ashes. It's the breath you take after crying. The sunrise after the longest night. It's not loud. It's not dramatic. But it is the beginning of your real joy. So if everything feels quieter now, gentler, softer, that's not a loss of momentum. That's the space your light needed to return. Not to impress. Not to dominate. But to simply be. And in that being, Leo, you are more powerful than ever. Courage doesn't always arrive as a roar. Sometimes it comes quietly, in the form of a single breath, a single choice to keep going even when the road ahead is still clouded in fog. And that's exactly where you may find yourself now. After releasing what no longer serves you, after peeling away the expectations and false crowns, you stand at the edge of something new. But with that newness often comes a pause. A hesitation. Not because you're unsure of what you want, but because you're not yet sure if you're ready to receive it. The truth is, fear rarely disappears before the next step. It walks beside us. But the difference now is that you no longer have to let it lead. You can acknowledge the fear and still choose the light. That is the path of maturity, the inner growth that comes not from never being afraid, but from recognizing that fear is only a passenger, not the driver. This moment in your journey asks for a deeper commitment, not to what you've left behind, but to what you're stepping into. And that requires trust. Not blind faith, but embodied awareness. The understanding that even if the outcome isn't clear, your intention is. And that intention, the quiet but steady will to live more fully, more honestly, more aligned, is what turns hesitation into momentum. In the tarot, the Chariot represents that energy. Movement, yes, but movement with purpose. It's not a chaotic sprint forward, but a deliberate steering of your own path. You may not have a complete map, but you have a compass, your inner knowing. And the most powerful journeys aren't always the ones you've planned. They're the ones you've chosen when it would have been easier to stay still. Numerologically, this phase aligns with the energy of the number 8, a number of power, balance, and return. It reminds us that real strength isn't about control over others or our environment, but sovereignty over our own inner world. It's about showing up for yourself even when it's difficult and declaring, "I'm no longer willing to abandon my truth just to stay comfortable." So how do you make this shift real? Begin with presence. Take 5 minutes each morning to sit in stillness and breathe into the affirmation, "I choose to live in alignment with my soul." Let that sentence anchor you, especially on the days when fear whispers louder than usual. Then, write a letter to your future self 6 months from now as if the version of you who embraced this turning point is already alive and thriving. Describe what you let go of, what you reclaimed, and how it feels to wake up each day knowing you chose yourself. This simple practice plants a seed in your consciousness, reminding you that the version of you long to become is not only possible, it's already on its way. There's also a gentle question to carry with you as you move forward. If you weren't afraid, what would you choose today? Not tomorrow. Not someday. Today. Because even the smallest decision made from clarity, a boundary set, a truth spoken, a step taken holds the power to shift your entire direction. This isn't about being fearless. It's about being faithful to the part of you that knows the light has always been inside you. That knows the goodbye wasn't a punishment, but an answer. That knows the path ahead, while still unfolding, is yours to walk. And now that you've made space, now that you've turned toward truth, all that's left is to take that step. And so, Leo, as we come to the closing breath of this reading, I want to remind you not of what you've lost, but of what you're finally making room to receive. This journey we've just traveled together was never about mourning an ending. It's about honoring the moment you chose to return to yourself. Every goodbye we explored, every moment of clarity you felt in your chest, every silent knowing that stirred inside you, they weren't signs of collapse. They were invitations. Gentle, powerful nudges from life itself, guiding you back into alignment with who you truly are. You haven't been abandoned. You haven't been left behind. You've simply been rerouted divinely, gracefully to the place that always belonged to you. You are not starting over. You are starting true. You've let go of the version of yourself who needed permission. You've outgrown the need to prove anything. And now, the space that opens within you is sacred because it is the birthplace of your next self. And that self will walk differently. Speak differently. Choose differently. Not because they are trying harder, but because they are finally in rhythm with their own heart. New people will enter. Watch for them. They won't demand your performance, they will honor your truth. Opportunities will arrive, ones that match your new vibration. You won't need to chase them, you'll only need to recognize them. And more importantly, you will meet a new version of yourself in the mirror, not someone better, but someone realer. Lighter. Freer. Undeniably yours. So now I ask you, not as a host, but as a fellow traveler, what goodbye do you sense is already approaching? What chapter are you ready to close, not in bitterness, but in grace? Write it down below, if you feel called. Say it out loud. Type it in the comments, not for me, but for you, as a declaration. As a quiet promise to your future self. You see, when you name what you're ready to release, the universe listens. When you give yourself permission to let go, you open the door for something far more aligned to enter. And you don't have to walk this path alone. That's why this space, this channel Eternal Mindfulness exists. So that you have a home to return to whenever you forget the truth of who you are. A place where light meets language. Where insight becomes action. And where healing isn't just something we talk about, but something we choose together breath by breath, step by step. So if this message has stirred something within you, stay close. Subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and allow yourself to be supported in the weeks and readings to come. Your next chapter is unfolding, and I promise it's not written in fear. It's written in fire. In truth. In the soft, steady glow of the Leo heart reclaiming its throne. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your presence, your energy, and your willingness to grow. Every comment, every share, every like, it ripples outward more than you know, helping others feel seen, guided, and reminded that they are never alone. You didn't come this far just to pause here. You came this far to rise. And now you're ready.